If a mosquito enters an elephant's ear, it can make the elephant go berserk. No, I didn't come here to tell a fictional story about mosquitoes and elephants. Instead, you are going to be acquainted with a real-life incident in today's video, something that can rival any movie plot. The year was 2009, January 15th. Something happened on that day in the history of the world that was hard to believe for the inhabitants of Earth. It was so unbelievable that an investigation committee was formed for that incident. What happened 2,800 feet above the ground on a passenger plane that day? Hollywood's legendary actor Tom Hanks acted in this film. You are watching Unique Storytellers, and today's story, Sully. At the beginning of the movie, we see that US Airways Flight 1549, after ascending into the sky from runway 4 at LaGuardia Airport, faces a critical situation where both engines of the plane fail. In such a dire circumstance, when the plane attempts to return, it collides with a building, resulting in a significant explosion with passengers on the plane. After this scene, we are introduced to the individual at the center of the story, whose name is Chesley Sully Sullenberger, often referred to as Sully. In summary, Sully is a pilot, or aviator, who has been working in this profession for the past 42 years. However, today he appears visibly concerned about something. But what is it that has Sully so preoccupied? The reason behind his thoughts stems from a particular incident that took place on January 15, 2009. On that day, Captain Sully, along with his co-pilot and several crew members, operated a plane named Cactus 1549, carrying a total of 155 passengers, taking off from LaGuardia and heading into the sky. However, moments after the plane takes off and reaches an altitude of 2,800 feet, a flock of birds comes into the plane's path. While attempting to avoid the flock, both engines of the plane are damaged. It's important to note that when a plane is at a considerable altitude above the ground, even a small bird's impact can lead to engine failure. Captain Sully immediately employs all emergency measures available on the plane. He attempts to communicate with the control room, but he learns that, as quickly as possible, he needs to try to return towards the runway. For this purpose, runway 2-9 at LaGuardia is made ready. The plan is to bring the plane back to the airport. On the other hand, all passengers are informed that the plane will attempt to land at any moment, so they need to stay alert. This announcement leaves all passengers on the plane feeling very anxious. On the other hand, Captain Sully realizes that it won't be possible for him to make it to the runway with the damaged plane. Since both engines have failed, the plane won't be able to reach the runway, which is 7 miles away. Captain Sully makes the decision that he will attempt to land the plane in the Hudson River. After this decision, communication with the control room is lost. Upon hearing about the decision to land a large plane in the river, the people in the control room become very anxious. Landing such a large plane in a river means there is almost no chance of survival for anyone on the plane. No one had previously attempted to land such a large plane in a river. Even landing a passenger plane there could be very dangerous. In response, the control room dispatches a helicopter to verify the current condition of the plane. It can be seen that the plane is gradually descending towards the lower side. Captain Sully skillfully lands the plane in the river with utmost caution. The landing of such a massive passenger plane in the water creates an impression as if a storm has erupted in the river. All the passengers inside the plane feel something akin to an earthquake, and all the lights inside the plane dim as it touches down in the river. The plane glides on the water towards the front. Fortunately, the landing is successful. After the plane comes to a halt on the river, all doors and emergency exits are opened. Captain Sully instructs each passenger to evacuate the plane. Inside the plane, water starts to seep in, and the process of evacuating passengers quickly began. The situation becomes tense and fearful. With water inside the plane, passengers start panicking. The captain guides everyone to exit the plane one by one. Meanwhile, outside the plane, the riverbank rescue teams witness the plane floating on the river. All the passengers evacuate the plane, and they all standing on the plane's wings on both sides. They remain perched on the plane's wings above the water. Meanwhile, the river rescue teams swiftly implement various measures to help the passengers, lifting them one by one onto the ferry. Helicopters from the aviation department also dispatched trained rescuers to the scene, as many people were stranded in the water. Despite some minor injuries, all the passengers managed to survive. Captain Sully and his co-pilot are the last to exit the plane. Captain Sully, without claiming any personal heroism, ensures the safety of everyone on board. News of this incident quickly spreads, turning Captain Sully into a real-life hero in the eyes of many. The passengers who were initially uncertain about their survival on this journey, they now find it hard to believe that they have indeed survived. Captain Sully, in the eyes of the public, transcends from being an ordinary person to a real-life hero through this remarkable event. But Captain Sully, since he did not follow the instructions of the control room, and he independently decided to land the plane in the river, an investigation was initiated against him. Initially, Captain Sully and his co-pilots were called for a meeting with the investigative committee in a room. When an officer was told that today we will discuss the crash of this plane, at that very moment, Sully responded by saying, "You are mistaken, the plane did not crash. I landed the plane in the water. This is called a water landing, and it was an emergency, otherwise, I would never have done it." The committee wants to know why he did not return to LaGuardia. Captain explains that at that moment, with 7 miles of path already crossed, the situation was not conducive to bringing the plane back. There was only the river, and I believed I could safely land the plane there. After that, the committee inquires, is it true that you couldn't return with the plane? Or did you land the plane in that river with so many lives at risk just for your craziness? Additionally, the committee questions Sully, asking, before this journey, when you were about to take off with the plane, how many hours did you sleep? Were you physically well? Were you under the influence of any substances? Captain Sully clarifies that he was healthy and normal. The committee's questions indicate their attempt to find any source that proves Captain Sully made a massive mistake by landing the passenger plane in the river. On the other hand, due to the investigation, Sully's wife is anxiously waiting for him to return home. In the media, different channels portray Sully sometimes positively and sometimes negatively, discussing various aspects of the incident. Captain Sully is seen mentally vulnerable. In his 42-year career, he has responsibly transported millions of people to their destinations. But now he is being scrutinized for an incident that lasted only 208 seconds. He constantly imagines what would have happened if he had brought the plane towards the runway. In this scenario, the plane would have collided with some building, resulting in a massive explosion. This very imagination is shown in the first scene of the movie. The mental pressure on Captain Sully is depicted to be so intense that he occasionally hallucinates whether he could really have brought the plane back to the runway. If he had done so, what would have happened? This thought haunts him, and he often thinks, if I had brought the plane back that day, it would have collided with some building and caused a huge explosion, killing many people. Therefore, what I did, landing the plane in the water, it was the right thing to do. The suspicion of the investigation committee gradually took a toll on Captain Sully's mental health. The assistant pilot of Captain Sully was also questioned. The assistant pilot revealed that all emergency measures were taken when the plane's engine malfunctioned. Despite following the rules and guidelines for piloting, which include 15 things to do in case of an emergency or critical situation, they adhered to all 15 rules. However, they still couldn't bring the plane back to the runway in any way. If Captain Sully had not landed the plane in the river, we all might have died, says the assistant pilot. Within a few days, the investigation concludes, and when the results of the investigation are announced, decisions are made regarding Captain Sully and his assistant. Sully and his assistant pilots, along with other aviation department employees, gather together. Discussion begins with the committee stating that today they will listen to the cockpit voice recording, which refers to a recording device inside the plane's cockpit where the pilot sits and operates the plane. Everything that is said among them during the flight is recorded on this device. So now, this recording will be played, and through this recording, decisions will be made about what actually happened on that day. Why did Captain Sully not attempt to return to the runway? And did he intentionally put so many people in danger by landing in the water? During this time, 2 planes are examined through computer analysis by the committee. When both planes are at the same distance from the airport and at the same altitude from the ground, if a bird strike occurs on a plane and both engines of the plane fail, would it have been possible for that plane to return to the runway, or not? This is what they investigate. However, Captain Sully opposes this. He says that experiencing something in reality and understanding it while sitting at home on a computer are very different. When you are trying to understand these things on a computer, it feels more like an adventure game than a real event. The real event is when both engines of the plane fail at an altitude of 2,800 feet from the ground, and in that situation, the responsibility of 150 passengers comes on my shoulders. Landing a plane in a deep river is not an easy task, and on that day, no one has given me training on how to survive from that situation. Upon hearing this, all members of the investigating committee listened to the cockpit voice recording. In this recording, it becomes clear that when Captain Sully was facing this situation, he attempted to turn the plane towards LaGuardia for the last time. However, at that moment, the plane started descending rapidly, and there was nothing more he could do. Therefore, compelled to save everyone's life, the only option he had was to land the plane in the Hudson River. And in such a situation, the skill required for a pilot to land a plane like that in a river, and the mental strength of a pilot needed for such an act, leave no doubt about that. The investigating committee then learns that what Captain Sully did was truly an extraordinary event, something that had never happened before, and this incident will go down in history as a remarkable one. The committee also acknowledges that both engines of the plane have already been recovered from the river, and it is known that both engines were severely damaged. With the condition of those engines, it would have been impossible to take such a massive plane to a runway. Captain Sully is declared completely innocent, and he is honored for his courageous actions. He acknowledges that he was not alone in this, giving credit to the competent team of the rescue forces, and the timely assistance from the ferry and other boats that arrived at the scene. The collaborative efforts of everyone involved in the rescue operation ensured that all survived. It is astonishing to think that this was a true event, and the story of a brave man's heroic victory comes to an end right here. So friends, let me know how you liked today's video by commenting. And if you enjoyed the video, whether you choose to subscribe or not, just hit the like button, and feel free to share it with your friends as well.